got another week.
Good running morning to y'all.
Or afternoon if it's the afternoon and you're watching it.
Yeah, whenever this ends up getting posted. I apologize for the technical difficulties that we had last week. It was a combination of computer memory and just being crazy with the beard run.
Yeah.
And well, speaking of the beard run, we'll do a little recap of the beard run. We had our first annual Abe Lincoln Beard Run relay and beard contest, and we did the beard contest first. It was really good. Had a lot of good participation, a lot of good beards, a lot of good fake beards, a lot of good real beards, and just a lot of really good participation. If you go to our Facebook page, which is probably where you're at right now, you can scroll down to last week and see a lot of the pictures.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and unbeknownst, or maybe it was beknownst to some people, but I think people didn't realize we do stuff like that. Well, workout wise, so like it was a fun twist to our normal Tuesday workout.
So we're doing that kind of workout every week.
And we'll have a fun thing like that once a month. It looks like. And really, thanks to Merrell for helping us out with that.
Yeah, Merrell did a great job.
They were awesome.
Yep, bringing the Bare Access 2, which we're going to show you, that we have in.
We talked about a lot of shoes last week.
Yep.
And just mentioned them, and all of them came in this week. So that's kind of
awesome.
Cool. But before we get going too far, we want to let you know. We mentioned last time that we were thinking of doing a contest, and we're still thinking of it.
Yeah.
No, but actually, we already have the award. So what it is going to be is a free pair of Virrata's. Exciting, huh? Virrata's the new Saucony Zero Drop shoe. We got some wear test models, and we're going to extend that to any of our viewers. So we're going to give contest details next week. We've got a couple ideas. If any of you have any ideas on what that contest should be, we're open to suggestions.
And something maybe that we should say, Danny, is there has to be at least a certain amount of participants in order to qualify to win. And so this incentivizes the participants to get other people to participate as well.
Because we want people to view. One thing we've discussed, and this is going to be frank, is we want our viewer base to grow, especially if we're going to be doing contests. Because part of that contest is to provide an incentive to watch.
Yep.
Because we
And you guys, the viewers, you guys know this is good information that a lot of other people aren't giving out. And so because of that, we want a lot of people to have access to it and to be able to view it. So, but stay tuned for more contest details. And in addition to the beard run, we will be having our first annual pie run next month. Stay tuned for more
March
details.
14th, good old Pie Day.
Let's
hit some new product.
We have our two new Sport Bean flavors, our assorted, I don't know where the
Extreme.
Assorted Extreme.
And Extreme Pomegranate.
Yep, so caffeinated and the assorted and caffeinated.
And so they're just adding the pomegranate with the watermelon and the cherry. So they're all caffeinated. And Sport Bean also has a recovery bean. I think we mentioned it after OR.
Oh, yeah.
So that should be coming out in the near future, and we're excited for that.
It looks
really good tasting.
Yep.
As you would expect
and they
from
use
Jelly Belly.
like a pea protein, I think is what I remembered them using. It really yummy. Tastes kind of like a malt ball, sort of. But and then this is the shoe that we had talked about last week that I'd been running in.
The Adidas Gazelle.
And really, the more I've thought about it, one, it's kind of like a glorified racing flat.
It really is.
But at the same time, I've worn this around just as a kick around shoe, and it's a pretty hot looking shoe. Like it looks pretty sweet. And the women's is not, I don't think it's necessarily over the top, in your face, bright, but it's pretty flashy. But I think it's just a cool kind of hip, spacey look to it. So it's a cool
anyone looking for a good open toe box. And the nice thing is it doesn't really have any of those structure overlays that just bug the crap out of me, especially if they hit your toe just right, or I guess just wrong as it might be. But really cool shoes. So come by, take a look at the Gazelle. It's 6mm drop, from what I remember. And
6mm.
yeah, nice cool option, good direction for Adidas.
Yeah.
So here's our Bare Access, it looks like. Am I right?
And this is the one that Merrell
Beard
brought
Run,
to
yeah.
the Beard Run for anyone who wanted to wear test it. Bare Access 2, 0 drop, kind of the more cushioned version of the Trail and the Road Glove.
Yeah.
Just a really, really good option. So, yeah.
Yeah, good shoe, good update.
And then to close our Merrell.
Here is the Road Glove. And I really think this is a good update. This is more what I envisioned the Road Glove with. A name like the Road Glove, I don't know, I expected that you could run on the road in it. The last version was just, it seemed super minimal. It was just like a trail glove with a smoother outsole.
Yep.
And that was it. Where this, it actually looks like it has some cushion.
Yep.
It's still less than the Bare Access, but it looks a lot more usable. And I think that in the past, Merrell, their shoes were just a little bit too minimal on the minimal scale. And I think they're doing a good job kind of bringing it back to more practical use.
Yeah, bringing it into still minimal,
Yeah,
but
it still
a
is.
little bit more practical cushioning.
Uh-huh.
So, well, cool.
Then we had a question, and this going back from our outdoor retailer contest that Carl Seebach, one of our winners, had asked about race nutrition. Like, going into a half marathon or marathon, and what are you going to do? You know, what's... And I'm probably not the best person. Like, because I've had GI issues every single marathon I've ever done in my entire life. And... you know, I've tried some of the secrets. Last time, I think it was just a fluke because I got food poisoning. But I've done everything from, like, not even eating breakfast before the race to carbo loading, like, during more lunch just to make sure everything's out of my system and I still have it. And even taking, like, ginger supplements to ease the stomach. But basic nutrition, I still think is going to hold true. Like my keys to the marathon and even the half marathon, I think people overlook this, is hydrate early and often. Like if you can get some water in you, it's only going to improve performance.
Yep.
And especially if you can take some carbohydrates. I've always wondered in a half marathon, because a half marathon, it seems relatively short, and I normally wouldn't even care about taking water in a case where I'm only running like even 90 minutes, and you know, if I'm racing half marathon, it's going to be over in, you know, 70 minutes or so. But the interesting thing is and this is a typical exercise physiology test that we do, they strap you on a treadmill and you run at like 70% VO2 max.
Okay.
And so they're monitoring effort, heart rate, and they have two different trials, and they give one person just straight up water, but it has kind of a placebo sugary taste, even though it doesn't have any of the carbohydrate.
Okay.
And the other person actually has kind of the Gatorade, you know, sugar, and it's primarily just looking at glucose.
Okay.
Yeah, and just watching vital signs as it goes, and they're just running for an hour. A person's heart rate is going to tend to drift upwards when you're just taking water, and what that signifies is increased effort. You know, if your heart rate's going up and you're remaining the same pace, you're losing something, and it's becoming harder. Thus, your heart rate getting higher. Where if you take that carbohydrate, your heart rate remains more consistent. And so, bottom line, I think that the main thing is really just taking sugars in.
Yep.
And in a half, you know, you probably need, I would say, the first time, because you have, ideally going into a race, your muscle glycogen stores are already kind of capped out.
Okay.
Especially if it's a race you care about, you've carbo loaded. And so you probably have like 45 minutes to an hour before you even start doing that, but you also need to think prevention. So taking your gel, 45 minutes, and then just being into it, then just being consistent, 30, 45 minutes consistent. And where I give that range is so much depends on aid stations. Like if you're a competitive runner, you're not going to be running with a hydration belt. You're going to be.
You're not going to run with anything.
Yeah,
except
you might have a gel pack.
Except maybe a gel in your hand or in your key pocket.
Yeah,
like
they can just pop.
St. George Half Marathon that I ran last month. It wasn't until probably about mile 8 or mile 9 is when I downed the goo. I had a goo Octane with me. Down that, and it was like that's all I needed. I had drinking maybe like a cup or 2 from 2 different aid stations, and I mean that was it.
Yeah.
So, yep. Cool. And we'll probably this is a really good question that we could probably hit on for like a few videos in a row.
Yeah.
So
a lot of people are interested in nutrition and just like during race, pre-race, general race, general just like training and post and recovery nutrition. There is a lot to say about nutrition and running.
Week of, month of. I mean, it's very. There is definitely, just like there is a science behind the physiology of running itself. There is a science behind the nutrition and that the week of is not probably as important as the 2 months leading up to the race.
Yeah.
So, anyways, cool.
Cool.
Let's talk racing news.
So racing, there was
a lot of good stuff.
A lot of stuff, yeah. Simplot games were up in Idaho, and Utah represented very, very well.
Up at Idaho State University in Pocatello.
So locally, we had, let's start with what's closest to home. Summer Harper won the 3200.
Awesome.
Our former employee, and she won. It wasn't sub 11. I think it was like 11:02. So still solid performance. Chase Inglestead took second in the coaches race.
Oh, really?
At least that's what I heard. And I know Jen Hughes, who runs for us too. I think she took second out of the women, ran like a 5:24. So solid.
Do you know what Chase ran? Do you know what
it was 4:20 something.
Oh, wow.
I didn't really look at the results. I just someone told me.
That's decent.
And then we had locally in state, Sarah Finney won the 1600 with like 4:56. So dipping under 5 again, which was solid. Then probably the performance of the meet, in my mind, was Shea Martinez. We mentioned her last time at the Oval, but she duplicated what she did at the Oval at Simplot, which in my mind is a lot more impressive, just because
there's a lot of turns on Simplot.
Yeah.
It's a banked course. The wood isn't as anyways.
But ran a 2:09, so awesome.
That's awesome.
And I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up going out to the New Balance Indoor Championships, because 2:09 is legit. It really is.
Pretty
and
fast,
Davis, they sent Brad Nye, and that's where he won the 1600 last year. Then Ben Surrell, he won the 3200 with like a 9 flat.
Wow.
Yeah, the guy is crazy.
And who was our boy Elijah right behind him?
He was. He was like 9'11" from what I remember. That's rough.
Do you remember a Payson kid being in that mix as well?
I know the Payson
kid.
He's good.
He's like a sophomore, I think.
Yeah. I can't remember his name right now. We've gone to cross country camp with him before. It'll come to me maybe.
No worries.
But I bet he made the final. He was like running sub 10 as a freshman.
That's awesome.
So really stud of a runner. Nationally, there was some really cool stuff.
Yes.
Like really big news at the Millrose.
Speaking of the 2 mile.
Yeah. So, and this is a true 2 mile. What we were talking about was a 3200. But Bernard Lagat broke the American record at 38 years old. 9:08 from what I read. No, 8. So 2 mile, that's 8:08. Because he ran 8:08. That's like 4:04 pace. So it's 8:08 8:09.
Yep. Cool.
But that was really cool. Cam Levins was in the race too, who ended up taking third.
I didn't know that.
And he ran. It had to be around 8:14.
Wow.
So that's kind of that's smoking.
That's awesome.
And
was that a Canadian record?
I wouldn't be surprised if it is.
They didn't say it on FlowTrack, so it probably wasn't, because they probably would have said something.
Yeah, they monitor Canada pretty close.
But that's
gonna be close. I would imagine the American record's lower than that, because he was in that pack, and that's only 5 seconds off. Lagat, essentially.
And the the boys, the high school boys 2-mile record.
Oh yeah,
By Edward Cheseret.
Yeah, and that was like a 50-year-old record from Jerry Lindgren.
Yeah.
And he crushed it too. He was like around 8:30 something.
Yeah, I think
it was smoking.
It was somewhere between 8:30 and 8:40. It was like maybe like 8:30 something.
I think it was like 8:36.
Okay.
But
yeah.
like I said, that was a 50-year-old record about.
Wow.
So it was great. One of the longest standing records in the books.
That's awesome.
And then the other record that went down at the Millrose Games was Mary Cain broke her own indoor mile record, ran a 4:28.
Wow.
So, crazy fast stuff going on.
For you guys out there that can't run a 4:28 mile,
the 16-year-old girl is running
4:28.
But to put in perspective, this is amazing. I was reading, though, she is still a long way off the age group world record.
Oh.
Like, there was, I don't know if you remember Zola Budd.
Yeah.
But she was running like
the one who ran barefoot in like the mile final and tripped up.
Yeah, but she was just like a running prodigy. She was running like 4 flat for 1500s at 16 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
She was like, when I looked at the numbers, she was about 10 seconds off of what Zola Budd had ran. So
that's incredible.
Yeah, and I think that was maybe it was 3K that I was looking at. But Zola Budd, yeah, crazy.
Rocking it.
Anyways, I think that's it.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining us today. And have a wonderful
one day to get it all right. 2 wrong and not enough right. 3 words you said in